never been ours.
What's that?
No, you never get a medal for that?
Yeah, we're
They
really-
don't like us.
We're
Hell,
actually,
they're around.
we've been trying to schedule you for 3 months.
But do you feel like you're in the hot seat there?
No.
I do.
It's not the hot seat, it's actually the trapdoor seat.
We had 2 things for today. Specifically, as we wanted to pick your brain with respect to recreational properties and setting fees. Our county, as you know, North Fork, St. Joe River, is getting rather expensive to maintain. And we're trying to examine different revenue streams, specifically trash pickup, vaulted toilets, and just general patrolling. You know, it's just great that people love the area, but it's also the more they love it, the more people who come, the more it costs. And so what we wanted to ask was some knowledge or some insight to your fee structure, and then how did you implement it, how did it go, those kind of things, you know, give us a few pointers. I guess the first question is, I think that you charge a recreational fee per property, is that?
That is correct.
Is there some boundaries or some limitations or some definitions of those properties, or is it a global recreation fee, do you recall?
Well, the property going up the river, there's a lot of subdivided, or small lots, and each lot is charged a recreational fee. We're up to, I think it's three camper trailers.
2 or 3.
Yeah, I think you refer to it in your ordinance as a site,
Yeah.
is that
Yeah.
correct? How do you determine the sites? Is it just a honor system, or is it a knowledge?
Not much honor system, but it's, I think she really struggles with that.
Yeah, we were looking at that and wondering too. We have a lot of those lots like you do where they've subdivided for the specific purpose of recreational use, and they fit a lot of trailers in the summertime. And of course,
We actually get burned really bad on commercial campsites. We're supposed to have a campground ordinance where they set dumpsters up and everything else, and it's really been hard for us to enforce that. And one guy's got a huge acreage there with umpteen camper sites on it, and so we get really bombarded with garbage at the end of every weekend also.
We're not very successful, to be honest with you.
okay.
We're struggling like heck with that. Because it's just, but we gotta do something, there's no
Yeah.
question.
We originally, through RAC grants, paid for the toilets and the dumpsters. And of course, it was earmarked just for recreational use. Well, as you know, not every contractor, every homeowner, maybe will store up all winter before they come by. And then the RAC grants for a couple of years were not renewed. They just started, Jeanne just put together an application. And from a cost standpoint, what do we figure the annual cost for the North Fork is? 18,000 a year, just for those few minutes. So the curiosity is you guys put the ordinance in, and you did it quite a while ago, isn't it?
Did you do it on their tax lien or tax bill?
Yeah, it goes on the tax
Tax bills?
As a fee.
Yeah, it's a fee.
You don't have anything then.
No.
We need to figure out how to offset some of these costs.
Did you start out?
These are recreational, we have a fee for each home site in the county, rural home site, and it's half of what the rural home site fee would be, which is, I think comes to what, home site is 100, I saw that the other day, 105 plus $100, so it's $57.
Yeah.
How much?
Was that for recreational or just for?
Recreational.
So it was by ordinance that you guys amended,
By ordinance.
commissioners amended last March 2018 to change that fee structure to provide a per site assessment, and that's picked up by the county assessor when they're going out and looking at doing assessments. They're noting how many sites to the best they can, as well as the treasurer's office working on that as well. So it's picked up
2 chairs there, sit down.
the number of sites based on that. Again, doing the best they can to identify the number of sites on a piece of property. And that's made as part of the annual assessment
Should have had
for the solid waste.
Should have had our treasurer here with this, for this discussion too.
Well, a lot of it too is understanding you did by ordinance and it goes through the fee, but that's good to know. I guess the question and I think did you raise it recently or modify it?
We review our costs of the year.
Yeah.
And we can raise it up or down 3% or up 3% without going to a vote. Anything after that, we have to have a hearing on it.
Do you get much from the St. Joe area? Did you get much comment from the public on it or any interest or people ask very much? Okay. We're just curious. We want to see what we're stepping on.
You guys don't have anything on the Coeur d'Alene River either?
Yeah, no, we don't have anything on the Coeur d'Alene or the St. Joe.
Most of the recreational sites on the St. Joe River are actually owned by people out of the county.
Yeah, that's what I find you too.
License plates, a lot of Washington license plates.
So you don't collect from them unless they own the property?
Yeah,
Yeah.
and then as Mariah explained, they try to survey how many sites per property there are, and they try to charge accordingly.
So you didn't just blanket all, say all the people who live on the river, you waited and let the assessor go out and tell you how many spots there are?
They're trying to do it, I'm not sure how they're trying to do it. You may want to go across the hall and talk to the treasurer-assessor to see how they're trying to handle that.
Okay.
If the property is in a recreational category,
Yeah.
then it gets that's one site assessment, and it's not just on the river, it's any recreational property in the county. So there are certainly a lot of recreational properties in Benewah County that are not on the river. It's similar to the fee, the solid waste fee that we charge on our residential properties. There's a fee, a solid waste assessment that the county does on all residential properties. This is a separate, different category, it's residential properties, but that's the residential category through the treasurer and the assessor that gets the
And
assessment.
the residential property is probably defined either or recreational by zoning or some kind of overlay.
It's not by zoning, it's by the assessor's category.
Category, gotcha. Okay, that's good to know. Anything else on that topic?
Nope.
This is good timing. Good to see you guys from the Forest Service.
Yeah.
The other topic we had today, we wanted to ask your advice on this, is with respect to the collaborative. We had a joint effort where we're using Shoshone County and Benewah County. There's been some changeover. We were having difficulties getting meetings, because we were going one place and then the other. And what we want to do is ask you today, pick your brain, what you thought the value of having the joint set up, should we continue it? Just see what your thoughts are. We found value in it, in that we could have a group that communicates regularly with the Forest Service and the different agencies involved with the forest. And A, would keep us up to speed on the projects, and B, if we had enough representation in the room, it could act as a true collaborative and provide benefit to the Forest Service or whoever's the one that's contracting to work out, because it's been through a process in which public and other agencies were involved. And we wanted to ask your thoughts. Do we keep doing this as a joint effort? Do we try to go a different direction? We've spoken with our staff. They're kind of advising us, just to kind of give you a heads up, they're advising us to go ahead and just do it ourselves. We believe that we can utilize the quarterly meetings that we have with the Forest Service as those collaboratives, but provide that invitation to the broader group, which would be including those ones at Benewah, and use those 4 times a year events as not only our update with them as the commissioners, but as our collaborative. I just wanted to see what your guys' thought was, because we had a pretty couple good years of a run, and then over the last 6 months, I think it deteriorated pretty quickly. So, what's your feel on it, you guys?
I think we're losing the game if we don't.
I think so too.
You just, look at the guy sitting right there. First time we've had a ranger in 20 years, and look at where we're at now. And that's all been from cooperation and working with each other. You guys don't have a darn thing different than we do. It all amounts to timber supply and reforestation, and we need to do it. We need to make up, we're all busy, but we need to do it anyway.
Your county has the majority bulk of the US Forest Service.
And you got the mills, yeah.
But we've got the mills and the logging companies here, so it's.
But we don't have nothing without each other, see?
Right.
Yeah, they go.
That's
they
kind of
go-
where I
they go
was,
hand in
that's why I
hand.
wanted to see what your thoughts were. Yeah.
And,
Yeah, I think the cooperation would be a better deal.
I think what we'll do then is we'll direct our staff to come, because they've been coordinating the meetings.
What's the point in time your people said you weren't going home?
Well, our attendance was down, and the travel time, and getting having the staff and the resources available to do it are the main reasons. So what we were trying to do is balance how could we be more productive, with our limited resources versus, so we're just weighing the facts. Do we continue on the path we're on, or do we try something new?
I think our group is going through the natural resources team, and now we're working at, we need to find some other people for the resource team. Or some other avenues. So, my personal opinion is, yeah, we should try to work together on this.
Okay. That's perfect, that's what we needed to hear. It's the whole story where you got a limited number of people, and you start running them pretty thin.
Yeah.
And then and especially the winter months, I think maybe we need to look more at the scheduling of the events, to make sure there are times when we can get high attendance and that. And we do have some valuable resources, the people who participate bring a wealth of knowledge to it, so, okay.
Good.
And while we're here, anything of us? Like Trey said when he went out the door, how do we get across the county line? Real easy, there's no, you have the gate open. No, we just wanted, Jay apologizes, he had a driver quit on me today, so he's jumping in and out of the truck.
What we,
Sense is best.
what we need to do though is we need to alternate in the meeting, one up there, one
Yes.
down here, and just do it.
And I think what we'll do is pay attention to the dates, because, let's face it, if you get anywhere near the 4th of July weekend or the Christmas
Yeah,
holiday,
yeah.
you're not gonna have any success.
Yeah.
And there are some probably law enforcement issues we could discuss sometime in the future,
Yeah,
because,
actually, I knew you wanted to bring that up, please do.
our sheriff's department probably handles most of your sheriff's duties in upriver, which is St. Mary's River
Yeah.
Range, and,
I think there's something, we might say something, I've got an application, I believe, for somebody to come down.
We
here.
might be, we believe that we're gonna be bringing an officer on that wants to live up there. We've been having trouble staffing that position, so we may see a change.
And we almost have
That
the
might help a
trailer,
lot.
the trailer called or finished, they gotta just anchor it, so put the screen on, so at least it's got a place.
Give us about another 3 weeks. If we bring someone on, that might change the dynamics.
Yeah, it'll help.
We had a hard time, a good example is on one of our road crew, we had a position open for quite a while, and just wasn't much interest, and it kind of surprised me, what a great place to live,
Yeah,
But it seems to be, if somebody has kids or other obligations, it is a little far out.
yeah.
So to answer your question is, if we do bring one on who's gonna be here, based here, that might solve.
yeah, that'd help out quite a bit.
And that, cross-deputize is what needs to, we need
That's a good
to
point.
be able to go up there, and they need to be able to come down here.
Oh, yeah, good idea.
We'll bring that back to mind. That's actually a great idea.
Yeah,
If
because
we had a
then,
couple of them that could go back and forth,
right,
that would help a lot.
that'll help,
We'll bring that back to them.
yeah.
Cool. Well, you guys,
We
yeah.
do provide ambulance service for the upriver area also,
Yeah.
and I don't know if there's some no pays from that area, it'd be nice if your county could pick up the cost of that.
We have the same crossover as we go into Cooney County,
Yeah.
so we serve the whole valley. And we've always looked at it that is it's part of the geographical nuisance that we have. And us approaching Cooney County doesn't seem to be to our advantage, and I'm not sure, unless it becomes so burdensome. then-
I'm just not sure where it's at.
Gosh, we were at 60% no pay, and with the new collection agency, we got it down to about 45% no pay.
Yeah.
So essentially, when they go out on a call,
We're familiar with that, ain't we?
Yeah.
and we supplement $28,000 a year to have the service, because if we didn't, we'd have to do it ourselves.
Yeah.
So I feel your pain, but if it is overly burdensome,
Well, I just have to look at the numbers, see where it's at.
we're getting hit with the same thing. And I'm not sure if I want to go down the road where we start billing one another. That might get more complicated than the actual number.
Well, you just have, you folks have a really challenging county to administer with geographic stuff.
Yeah.
We call it geographic disadvantage. But it all works out. Anything else while we're here, guys?
Probably see on Friday.
Yes. I think it'll be a short one. We don't have a lot of questions, it's just that time of year. We keep Seth to a minute. I have a dentist appointment right afterwards, so that's gonna be short. Yes. Well, thanks, guys, for taking the time
Thank you
and
very much.
pushing us forward.
Yep.
Yeah,
Thank you.
appreciate it. See you
See you
later.
later.
Nice to meet you. Sorry about that.
I got one now.
Here's my card.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks for fitting us in on your agenda, I really appreciate it. Jeanne Higgins, Forest Supervisor, Idaho Panhandle National Forests. And of course, you know Matt.
Matt Davis, District Ranger here on the St. Joe Ranger District. Bob, nice to meet you. Look forward to working with you.
And we appreciate you squeezing some time in so I could introduce myself to you and tell you a little bit about myself and my tenure here on the forest. So I've been here for about a year. Mary Farnsworth was the previous forest supervisor. She moved on and stepped up in her leadership, and she's actually down in Ogden, Utah at this point in time. So myself and my deputy, she couldn't be with me today, Kim Pearson, we arrived about the same time last year on forest, and I have worked for the Forest Service for over 30 years. Some here in Idaho and some in Montana, and I came here from our headquarters office where I was leading some change work in the agency to change how we do environmental analysis work as well as our timber sale processes. So I'm really grateful to be here. This is not my first time as forest supervisor. I served as a forest supervisor on a couple of other forests around the country. So, but I am a University of Idaho graduate, and both my children were born here in North Idaho. So it's really, it was like coming home for me to be able to come back to North Idaho. So I'm really grateful to be here. So Benewah County does have a portion of National Forest System land, not as much as Shoshone County, but it's an important relationship that we have with you, with the county. And so part of what I want to do is extend the opportunity that if there's an issue on the forest, if you would like to visit about it, I'm more than happy to sit down with you anytime. Of course, you've got Matt here, and Matt's very available, being right across the street. But if there's any larger issues that you'd like to visit about, I'm more than happy to sit down and have a conversation about that. So the focus that we have on the National Forest these days is around trying to improve forest conditions. Our forests are very much in need of active management to not only reduce the fire hazard, but to deal with the insect and disease situation that we've got built up on the forest here. So we've been improving our processes to increase our timber outputs as well as the number of acres that we treat. So not only is the timber sale process a really important piece of our business, but we also utilize prescribed fire to help us with managing the forest. And this is the time of year when we use prescribed fire quite a bit. We've been burning upriver. We've actually had some really pleasant conditions this year to be able to do prescribed burning. So we burn not only to improve the health of the forest, but to reduce residual fuels from our timber harvest, and so prior to planting in the spring. So very important tools for us as we manage the forest. So that's where our primary focus is. There are some new opportunities in terms of our relationship with the county. I believe that so the county benefits from National Forest System lands, and I'll say benefits. I know that sometimes it doesn't quite feel that way, by participating in the opportunity to receive funds from revenue that's generated from National Forest System lands. So that's been historically through the 25% fund, and then more recently under Secure Rural Schools, having a stabilized payment to provide support to schools and roads. And I'm not quite sure what the formula is here in the state for that. But so obviously that revenue generation is an important piece to our relationship with the county. So our timber sale program, if we have grazing, fees from grazing, and some of our outfitter and guide fees also contribute to that 25% fund. But there are some other opportunities for us to work together through some new authorities that Congress gave to the Forest Service. The Good Neighbor Authority that was authorized under the 2014 Farm Bill, and then again under the 2018 Farm Bill. 2018 Farm Bill gave an opportunity for counties to engage directly in management of National Forest System lands. So if you have an interest in that, Matt and I would be more than happy to share a little bit more about what that looks like and how you might be able to work with us. And there are other things that we do together, obviously, road maintenance, and other activities that we work closely together on. So we're very interested, I'm very interested in knowing how we can deepen our relationship with you, and what kinds of information that Matt or I can provide to you in deepening that relationship. So I'm going to stop there and ask Matt if he's got anything specific he wants to share.
Yeah, I think a couple of things. So, this will be coming up on June and my 4th year here. And so one of the things that I look forward to working with you folks on, I know we've got something with Mike and John who just left from Shoshone County, is we have rack proposals up and coming on June 1st deadline, if I remember correctly. And so we'll have internal and external rack proposal discussions, and I think, Bob, are you on that committee for the rack committee? Okay, and Phil is? No. So I think we have a rep though here from Benewah County, Shoshone Mueller. And so I guess one of the things I like to do is make sure that we're briefing information you folks, and the best way of contacting you. And I've been sending things previously either to your guys' office or through the natural resource team previously. And so reestablishing that kind of communication chain, what you guys agree is the best way to get things to you, like fire briefing sheets, updates to our projects up and coming for timber sales, to our road packages work. If we're replacing a bridge, I want to make sure you guys know about it when we send a news release out. So just a couple thoughts and ideas to get back with me on at some point would be great. I want to make sure we close any gaps that we might have on commo. And establish that as best we can so everybody's getting the same information that we're delivering at the same time. That said, I'm not sure, I know I've shared it, I think, with Deanna before, but I know that I've talked with Peg and Dean previously, and might have mentioned it to you, Jack, but we have a May meeting coming up on May 30th with our 5-year action plan. So I'm going to throw that out there. I still see it on my calendar. I was fishing through my phone here. And I'm not sure if you want to lean in on that, and I'll stop and jump right in.
Sure. So Jack, you might have been involved with the development of our 5-year action plan, which is identifying our priority areas for treatment. And we did that several years ago. I think we had a refresh maybe 3 years ago, and it's time to refresh it again. So we do have a meeting scheduled May 30th. It will be in Post Falls. You will be receiving an agenda for that meeting here, likely today. But if not today, early in the week. The focus of the meeting will be on taking a look at what we've been working on, how that priority 5-year action plan has been working for us, and then do a refresh in terms of other things that we need to consider as we continue to move around the forest and do forest improvement work. So we hope that you'll be able to join us. Again, it's the 30th. It will be in Post Falls. There's a specific facility there, and the name of it's just escaped me. But we were afraid that our conference room in the supervisor's office wasn't going to be big enough, so we moved location. So we should have plenty of room for anyone who wishes to join us. There are some additional things that we'll be talking about, not only Good Neighbor Authority, but this notion of shared stewardship. The Secretary of Agriculture came out with a document intending for us as an agency to work very closely with the states in terms of co-managing federal lands, National Forest System lands concurrently with the state. And so if you haven't seen that document, I will get it sent to you. Have you seen the document, Jack? You haven't seen it? Okay, we'll make sure that we get a copy of it to you. It's a pretty hefty document that talks about working very closely with the state and prioritizing our actions. So we've been doing that for a while, but we want to work very closely with you all as well. But there was an agreement signed with the governors. So the outgoing governor, new Governor Little, last fall, as Governor Otter was leaving office, Governor Little was beginning to come into office with the secretary, focusing on that notion of shared stewardship and leaning in very heavily to treat more acres of national forests around the state. So there is a goal in there to double the acres in the next 5 years and to work on a couple of very large landscapes across boundaries, so working very closely with state lands and landowners to enforce conditions. So we'll be talking a little bit more about that on the 30th as well. So we do hope you'll be able to join us.
I just had a couple more additives for the conversation, and so I appreciated what the Shoshone County Commissioners, Mike and John, said, your guys' agreement with the collaborative discussions. And so some of that would definitely be within that shared stewardship discussion. I'll make sure I send that document over. I'm making myself a to-do list when I get back to the office. One thing that I've mentioned to Phil and Jack before, Bob, I don't overpromise and underdeliver. And so you're going to get as much the straight talk and conversations as we possibly can. We'll order in when we have tough topics and discussions, and at the end of it, we'll try to reach the best agreement possible for the better of everybody. That said and shared, I'm always mindful to the fact that within the boundaries of the St. Joe Ranger District, as much as within Shoshone and Benewah counties, we have a lot of partners and partnership opportunities. So not just with federal Forest Service lands, the 725,000 acres and change, but I got BLM out there with the area manager. I think Kurt's been here over the last couple of months at least once to visit with you folks. We got Idaho Fish and Game lands back into the Snow Peak area where we want to help and work with them to manage those lands, as much as then we have with the IDL and their lands. So a lot of jurisdiction and protection when it comes to fire resources, the things that we do. I know we made it to the Chiefs breakfast on Saturday this last weekend to make sure we have as much of a presence for myself or for my working group as we can, not just within the county, the city, or the town, but also on the other side of the hill within Shoshone County. Because we recognize that as our primary land base exists there as much as here. And so Jeanne had hinted and mentioned the G&A, the Good Neighbor Authority, processes and work that we want to continue to do things towards and on. So I've been working with Rick Arcano, with his folks at the IDL office here locally in St. Mary's, and taking a look at what resources he has, not just from fire but non-fire, as much as I have, so we can coordinate work together to get more work done, put more product out there on the shelf for contractors, bidders, et cetera, to take advantage of. I'm also mindful of the fact that it doesn't just keep us within the confines of what we do from timber industry and reducing fire and fuels effects from activity, non-activity treatments. But I just met with all our cattle allotments and lottees down there in Deary a few weeks ago, had really good lottee conversations and had them ready to go from that standpoint and get them out to the pastures this year. So that's just a taste of the many things that I'm just mindful that we have good conversations on. It never seems to fail to have something happen with roads or a culvert getting plugged or some urgency or emergency that we're needing to be reactive to instead of proactive. So if you guys have a bump in the night, you've got my contact card. I work 24/7 on my work cell, so leave me a message, I will get back to you. And that's what I offer, is I'm that much available. So that's how I'm gonna operate. I haven't changed in 4 years, so I'm gonna continue to have that presence, so I appreciate it.
Questions for us?
I don't have any.
Kind of amazed at what Shoshone was saying, you know, this about getting together. We're the ones that was keeping them together. And they're asking us if we, that ain't gonna be our last conversation.
I saw that they went ahead of us in the schedule, I was like, uh-oh. So the ask was right?
Keep working on the health issue in the forest.
Big job.
Very.
But it's so different, Bobby, than it has been. It's just
Yeah.
amazing what they've been able to do and what, there's no can't do problem with it, can do. And that's
That's a new concept.
And we've never had that for years and years, and it's very, you know, and he's up, if you want to talk to him, you can talk to him, because this guy, so he's, and it don't matter what it is, so.
Nicely or yell, we'll get through it.
And full disclosure, you know, Supervisor Higgins and Matt, Bob is a retired logger, so. kind of-
Yeah, he's not a farmer, so, yeah.
It probably speaks some of the same language.
Oh, yeah.
So,
Really appreciate you coming down.
yeah, really appreciate the opportunity to meet all of you. And again, you've got my card, my email, cell phone, you know, anything you want to chat about, please don't hesitate.
We'll do that.
Especially if you don't get the right answer from Matt, but I know you will, so.
I'll do my best. I go to the higher power if I start fumbling myself, I check in.
Right, and we hope to see you at the 5-year action plan
Yeah.
meeting.
I'll get that invite right over for you folks. It's at Templin's in Post Falls. It just dawned on me where. But I'll make sure we get the draft agenda and invite over here.
It's actually not at Timlin's.
That's what I heard, so it's not? Okay,
No,
clean up-
that's
clean up
a
message.
that's a different
Oh,
event.
never
No, there's
mind.
some other county facility that, state-of-the-art facility, but we'll get that.
I better
information
find
to
out, okay.
you.
Sounds good, thank
Very
you.
good, thank you
All right,
very
thank
much.
you.
Next meeting.
Nice to meet you.
Yeah, go ahead.
I have to give you guys some information as well.
Sure, that's fine.
So we have,
This was on my table.
I give that to you.
we have a little bit of, a couple of letters and partially signed petition, although we only just got this information recently, so. Short for gathering information, but this is a little bit of information about some of the potential effects and some evidence supporting it. So, I guess I don't know how this works, because I've never been to a commissioners meeting.
You
Do I
just talk
introduce
away
myself
here.
and talk?
Talk
Okay.
away.
So I'm Amie Scheinost, this is my husband Jay, and Charlie Lynch is here with us as well, one of our neighbors. We just recently learned that they are proposing to put a cell tower at the corner of Bachelor and Pokey Lane. Bachelor Lane and Pokey, sorry about that. And we have some pretty significant concerns with that. We don't feel like it's really the best location. It's my understanding from talking to the county that they have not actually pulled a permit for this yet at this point in time, and we are hoping that there's something that you guys can do to help us, to hopefully encourage them to choose an alternate location and maybe not allow a building permit at that location at this point in time. It's an area, a very consolidated area of homes, most of them with children. There's about probably 15 homes within that quarter-mile radius.
Where's it actually at?
Up on Pokey Creek.
On the map of the
Jack, you know where you go off Pokey down to our place?
Yeah.
If you're on Bachelor, it's just right there on the right. It's in that block.
It's not up on top then? Or is it?
It's just, if instead of turning on Bachelor, if you went another 200 feet, it would be there on your left.
On this map, where is Pokey Creek?
Let's see if I can tell, where's Santa?
There's Santa Y, so that'd be Santa.
So this must be Pokey Creek coming up here. Bachelor Lane kind of lies off right here, and they're talking about putting it right at that intersection. And like I said, it's just an area with a lot of residential homes, and mostly homes with children. There's actually a home that's probably within 600 or 800 feet of the location that they're proposing. Some of the information that I've found with my research, there are definitely some health concerns with it. There's some increased risk of cancer, there's some studies showing those kind of things. It's my understanding, based on an FCC law in 1996, that you aren't allowed to say there can't be a cell phone there because of the health concerns. But I do think it's something that should be taken into consideration when thinking about what the use is of that area. It can affect property values by up to 20%, and there's some information that on a national study that 79% of people surveyed said that they would not purchase a property within that quarter-mile radius of a cell phone tower, which greatly affects the property values of people who own in that area. And there is already a cell phone tower that has been erected in Amida. It's not functioning yet, but it is there and available, and it's my understanding that cell phone towers generally cover about a 20-mile radius. There would be no way of knowing what the radius of that tower is until it's up and functioning, but I think that it would be reasonable to delay a permit to build another tower until we know the coverage area of that tower. If we have coverage in our area from that tower, there wouldn't be any reason that they need to put one where we are. And it's my understanding that there is the opportunity to have some kind of an independent study of coverage area based on that other cell tower location.
They should be able to tell us that though, shouldn't they?
Apparently,
They should be able to tell us what the coverage is and what the thing about them is the safety factor. If they, they really help safety-wise, but how did they happen to pick that certain spot? That's what we need to look at.
What they told me was that they had to have that spot to communicate with the tower in Maida, to communicate with the tower they're building up on the Blues Divide to carry the signal.
In that same spot, huh?
It has to be that spot. to make the signal communicate.
the information on that.
So it's not up on a hill though, huh?
It's up on that Pokey Creek Ridge.
It's not super high.
We're at 3,000 feet, and there's plenty, my concern and my, suggestion is how many alternate locations are there in that area that are not right in the middle of a group of residential homes to place a cell tower? We live in a very rural area, and there are mountaintops all around us, so why is this the only potential location they have?
Go ahead.
I understand that, and I live up Pokey Creek, I live farther up, and we're to a spot where, as far as phone communication, Frontier, Verizon, whenever they had it, there's limited phone service, and the cell tower, it's, the reason they talked about placing it was there, so we can continue on and shoot up towards Fernwood, so more people have access to cell phones, and they all broadcast off of RA or RF frequency, which is a radio frequency that FM, television, all them come off. It's non-azidotic radiation, and they haven't really had any conclusion to show that it actually causes cancer. But there's a lot of elder people that live up by me, and we don't have a phone because there's no more lines, and you keep people on a waiting list, and so if something was to happen and we would break a hip or need emergency assistance, we have no way to get it because we can't do 911. And I think it would be a good thing to have it, and they got them in towns, they've had them by school. I gave Bob some information that come off of the internet, and they really don't have any conclusion on exactly what it does, but it's all within the FCC guidelines as far as safe for radiation, if people are concerned about radiation.
And I'm not arguing that there shouldn't be a cell phone tower out there somewhere, I'm just arguing that this is not really the most
So,
appropriate location for
Maybe
it.
we need to meet with them and see if that's absolutely the spot or it can be moved.
We've had time
That's, we don't know that. This is cold turkey to us.
I made contact with Chip D'Amato from Inland Cellular. Weiser Towers owns the property, and Inland Cellular is apparently, I'm sure that they maybe aren't the same company, because both of their home locations, it's a pretty small city over in Seattle, maybe just with two different names under the same parent company. And he did say that there is the potential for other locations, but he didn't, he wouldn't really talk about it any further than that. And he said he was gonna get back to me, and he hasn't, as well as 2 or 3 other neighbors that have contacted him.
Who owns the ground where the tower is now?
Weiser Tower purchased it.
Who did purchase it from, do you know?
Yes,
Well, Foley's.
the Foley's owned it.
Well, Foley's owned it, then a couple from Washington bought it from Foley's, and then they bought it from a couple from Washington.
I don't know exactly what
I'm
happened.
not, yeah, we're not against the cell phone. It's just the location of it.
How close to a residence would it be?
Less than
Right
1,000 feet from our house.
From our house, it's less than 1,000.
You can see it from that.
Well, to me, it's not any different from power lines.
Melissa is the one who it's actually gonna be right next to.
We can see it from our front door.
Probably 500 or 600 feet from your front door at most.
I don't
Yeah.
see anything wrong with looking into it, to see.
Yeah, and my final concern is, I personally actually have some health concerns with electromagnetic energy, and that's part of why we live where we do, so that I'm not exposed to that. And I do understand under the Americans with Disabilities Act that I may have some protection, actually, that they may not be able to put the tower there because of that, and I am investigating that right now as well. And again, like I said, we live in a rural location, we've chosen to live in this type of place because of, limitations with those kind of things, and we understood that when we purchased our home in that area. And I just don't think that it's right for them to put a cell phone tower right next to our homes when we, live in this county and, have chosen to be here because of some of the benefits we have from not being exposed to those kind of things.
I think we look into it, Phil, and see.
I think
Cold turkey, really.
look into it, talk with them and see what by the location, but if they have to have a location for their signal, we have to weigh the consequences
Yeah.
of their health issues versus other people out
Yep.
there
Absolutely.
for safety.
But we don't know that. Or we don't know that
Yeah.
right now, so we don't know.
I mean,
I would like there to be some kind of an independent company that says, independent of Inland Cellular, because they, you know, they have motivation to have it where it is because they already have invested in this property there. You know, I think somebody independent should, you know, possibly come in and say if they need to have that location. My guess would be looking around our area that there are lots of other alternative locations. We do have,
Do you know why they picked that area?
I think for the price of the property. And there's, you know, services available there, electricity available right there at the road, and a county maintained road. This would be my guesses, because those lower their expenses, but I don't think that lower expenses for them should be at the, you know, the risk of everybody else living in that area.
around 200 is what we have said.
Same thing you want as any MIA that you see.
And there is, you know, we get internet service in our area. They have one tower in Amida and one tower in Fernwood, and we get service in our area. So and it's similar to a cell type of signal that they send for that. So my guess is that they should, you know, be able to consider cell phone towers in similar locations and still get the same type of service.
The old landfill, is that Bud's ground?
Camp 2.
I mean, that would be an ideal spot, right on top of that, there's no one around.
He's donated for a tower, or for an internet system back over there, but I don't know where that one's at.
Which one's that?
A tower for internet.
I'm guessing.
Craner, he
The one Craner used to have it for the Mite area?
Yeah,
That's up
Yeah, and
on-
that's who we signal off of to get our internet.
It's up on Mite 8 there, but then the signal doesn't work on up toward Fernwood and Clark yet.
No, they actually
Well, they
have,
put a repeater in Elmore
they have
Meadows.
one in Elkhorn Meadows now and covers that area.
Because we use,
Right where we live, we can't use that signal because there's a ridge between where we live and.
Makes a difference.
another place I thought of is if you're going up to Sand Hill off to your right, the driveway that goes up there, when you get up there, you've got a view of all over.
It's my understanding they maybe have some fire repeaters on their property.
Yeah,
But they have to have access and power too. So
yeah, well, I know there is power going up there.
I think we need to get a hold of Inland Cellular.
yeah, we will, let's do it,
Thank you.
yeah. Yeah,
I've got all their contact info, I'm working with the Inland Cellular.
okay,
And just one thing to think about is in order to build a tower, they've got to do environmental assessments and there's the NEPA process and there's a whole string of stuff. And they're pretty well into that, so. But
we're cold turkey here right now.
yeah,
We don't,
I talked to them about this situation and they said, well, it doesn't matter to us, but it's a little late in the process for them, but they're willing to talk, so.
Yeah, and they didn't share any information with any of the neighbors. The only reason that we knew this was happening was because the surveyor was there.
so they
So,
didn't,
yeah.
yeah, okay.
So if they had shared early in the process, we certainly
Jen,
would
can
have.
you get that contact information to me?
Yes.
Okay.
Great.
Thank you for your time today. Did you have anything to add?
I just want to write that.
I did.
Okay, that's all.
We can,
So Peg and Jeanne are out there, but of course treasurer and assessor both have stuff.
Would you like a copy of this information?
let's get Peg and Jeanne. Or the assessor.
Let me call the treasurer.
Okay.
Yeah.
Done by
Thank you.
Amy, you probably have to.
That's what I figured. Yeah. pending issues set up for 10 if anyone showed up. I'm assuming that's, okay. I told her no one did, and no one showed up at her office either, so. Anyways, she'll be over. I think she has a couple of cancellations and her monthly financial report too. So when I was telling pending issues, if someone would have shown up, what would they have been? Like what? The hardship or
Okay.
something like that,
Okay.
and, well, let me start with that. I need to get a hold of Welch Comer.
Okay.
We have, Ron Pugh was just in. He wants to hook up to sewer on that side of the road, and we never have before. We have notes where we could, but City Hall told him to come see me. Is
Well,
that?
that's not fair.
Okay, so we need to,
The
guys-
whole thing of that is they don't wanna pay that expensive hookup.
right?
And that's what, and the city turned them down, so they better go through the right process to get that done.
Okay, so my report, the last time we hooked somebody up is 2017. So I need to get that updated so we can collect the right amount, but is there any reason we can't hook up on that side of the road?
That's gotta be the city's call,
Okay, I just wanted to make sure with you guys because,
because it's their sewer system.
right, and it was the Green Thumb that was there. They tried to put in a bathroom out there and they were never allowed to do it. And I don't know if that was a Panhandle Health issue or what. That was back in somewhere between 97 and 99.
Do you remember anything on that, Mariah?
I guess I'm a little bit confused about what has happened and what the request
Well, they wanna
is.
go across the
but-
road and hook up to all the trailers and everything. On the opposite side, going out of town, to the right,
Or the Green
by the grocery store.
But why do you say that's a city system? Is that the city limits?
That's the
isn't it?
city's sewer. It's not,
It's county lines.
it's, we put it in due to the landfill. But the city has control over that, we don't.
I know that Ron Pugh came to the city, it's been several months ago now, I think it was in the fall, and he was told to contact the public works director to talk about what the needs would be, and that's the last that I'm aware of it coming through the city, and I don't know what his request is to the county. And no, I don't know the history of Green Thumb not hooking up or what the requirements or the requests.
Well, I wasn't thinking of Green Thumb, they didn't know that.
No, I know that
Forever.
building.
So, yeah, okay.
So what Ron Pugh was in today is he wants to pay the county's capitalization fee to be able to take that to City Hall and then hook up to the sewer down there. But I just need to get updated amounts. And Welch Comer, do we still deal with the same person or is she left?
So Melissa's gone.
Okay.
Nobody's been here to replace her yet.
Yeah. What do you want to know what the capitalization fee is? Is that, I don't understand what the question is.
I'll show you what this is a report that Welch Comer gave us. And it changes year to
The
year.
LID fee.
Yeah, it's a capitalization fee for local improvement, but because there was never the county put in all the lines but didn't ask for a prepayment, just paid the cap fee when hooked into the system. And so I would get this report from Welch Comer. The last time we got it was back in 17, so I just need to get an updated report so I can get the correct amount charged for the new hookup.
Does he want one hookup?
He only asked for one.
That's what I'm afraid of.
And again, there's been some changes in what he's done out there since he came to the city, so I don't know where that is with the city.
Yeah.
But I do think you need an updated one of these.
Yes, I just didn't know for sure from Welch Comer, but I will,
Yeah.
I'll call them and see what I can find out on them.
Yeah.
Okay. This was brought to my attention. This is property that's under USA Trust. There was the $36 bond fee. they're exempt because Dee Dee sends out the billing, so it was kind of
And USA Trust is
tribal.
tribal.
Yes. So it's $36 on 2 parcels that we needed to fix.
Okay.
And then while he's saying that, I have the new updated statement of treasurer's cash from April 30th. So you guys can have those for your lookings.
Red flags here,
The what?
red flags.
I didn't see anything, and I'm still waiting for Dee Dee to get stuff back to me, so,
It's a quarterly, so I don't have it final yet, but I'm working on it.
right. Okay, pending issues. I have the most I've ever had.
Sarah, can you explain what that term means, pending issues? I think it's a term that you use
So,
that doesn't, I don't know exactly what you mean,
Okay.
but I think it has a particular meaning, and so that would be helpful.
it's a notice of pending issue of tax deed. And so I have to go through, and you can see the form that's generated by the state. I'll give you just the top one, because then I can still talk, but I
So
make
notice of pending issue of tax deed. That's-
Yes.
Okay, that's all I really wanted
Okay.
to say, and no.
Okay. Thank you. I'll bring you copies back.
Thank you.
So I've contacted pretty much everybody on my list except one person. They all thought that they would have the money in by today. So I didn't have the sheriff's office post because that's another expense. But I talked to them on Friday and nobody followed through with what they were going to do. So I had the sheriff's office post. I will, so basically today, we're gonna go through everything, but by the time I do my recording the affidavit of compliances and get everything organized, by the time we actually record the actual tax deed, will be the next commissioner meeting. Claudia Amon, she has 8 parcels in Santa Maria Woods, tracked 31, 32, 35, and 36, and 21, 24, 25, and 28. I have talked to her on the phone. She is a school teacher who has lost her husband to cancer, and the hospital has a $170,000 medical lien on those parcels. She put them up for sale, but nobody has purchased them. So she didn't think that she could come up with the man of the back taxes for the 1 year to try and keep it going again because of that lien. It's kind of stopped her from being able to do anything. And each parcel is between $600 and $800. So I have talked to her. She does understand that if the county does take the tax deed, that she has the 14 months or until the sale of contract goes into place to be able to redeem them before she loses 100%. And I did talk to her that Claudia Amon, she lives down in the Boise area. And I did tell her that if the county does sell them, that the excess proceeds, if it does go higher, then the amount of the back taxes does go back to her. And she said she understood. We'll see what happens with that claim too, because I did notify them also.
And if it's sold in a lien, this doesn't go with the future owner though, does it?
Correct. Most of the time, those liens that are the state liens, federal liens, and medical liens stay with the people, not the property. So if they were to sell and was not enough money, then those liens still stay with the person. And they're responsible to still pay it off. Jason Bowlby, this is the main reason I wanted to make sure we went out and posted again.
Sarah, I have someone here to pay their 15s on one of the ones that you're
Which one?
signs.
Perfect. I haven't gotten to that one.
Okay, I'll let her
Thank
know.
So Jason Bowlby, he's the one that is the veteran over on the Tensed side. He has $5,000 owing to the city of Tensed. He knows about this. I talked to him in February about this, and I wanted to make sure that that was posted prior to the tax deed because I wanted to see if he was going to actually show up and ask for another hardship like he did last year. haven't heard from him. Ruth Ann Fuller, she has passed away. I've talked to the family and they said because of the medical liens and other liens against the property, they're not gonna pay it anymore. They paid it for 3 years and they couldn't sell it. This one is on River Way. It's William Giske. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that correctly. He lives in Hawaii and I have not been able to get a hold of him. Michael McDonald on Whit Rock Road. I have a call into the public representative, which is Jacob. I didn't have a current phone number for him, so I called his bank and the bank was going to get him a message and get back to me this week. Jesse Richwine, this is a title problem. The property was sold and it was not even, it's not in the right person's name, according to the person that sold the property. And so he's like, you guys can have it, I don't want it. So I talked to him, and then Del Rust, he came in on Friday and talked to me, and we had about a 45-minute conversation about what to do. He is trying to get a loan right now to fix up the house and get it on the market to sell. He wanted it an extension. I said, okay, I have given everybody the longest amount I can. I said, because I have so many this year, I really tried to work and talk to everybody. I explained the same thing I did to Claudia, like, go ahead and let the county take it. You still have the right to redeem it. You can still have it up for sale and redeem that prior to the sale. I said, go ahead and let us do our steps so that we don't have one parcel hanging out there not being completed and the others. So if you guys feel anything different on any of those, let me know and I will try and get a hold of the people again. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
How much did you owe on that?
$1,545, and his wife didn't get picked up to work at the tax office this year. So they had no income coming in. So that's all I had, so if anything comes up on those, I'll let you guys know. And I wasn't going to bring this over, but I thought I would, just to get a second opinion. I had a taxpayer call on Friday saying that she got her reminder cards in the mail and they are not all paid. And I said, well, on your check, you only have one parcel number. A lot of people do that. They'll send in a check for this parcel and a week later they'll send in money on the other. It didn't balance and we're like, oh, well, maybe she's selling it and she prorated. I mean, we can never guess what they're trying to do. And she goes, well, no, I think you guys should cancel the penalty and interest on all my parcels because I sent in the money ahead of time. So I went to the bank and I pulled the check and it only has the one parcel number on the check. So if you guys think that she was trying to pay all her first halves, which it does come out to the first half amounts, I told her I couldn't authorize that because it states on here a specific parcel.
But it does equal out to what?
It does equal out to the amount of the first half on all her parcels.
Let's do it.
Yeah.
Okay, so I will go and write up the cancellation, and before you guys leave, I will bring that back over. I just didn't know what you guys were gonna think about that, so I hadn't written one up.
Yeah.
Okay?
Okay.
All right, that's all I had.
Thank you.
Can I call Donna and
Yeah.
get her done too? And then
It's the worst bill I ever put in on that property. All the years we never took a house away from anybody. They always paid. The worst thing that ever happened.
Catch that one.
Hi, it's Stevie. Is Donna ready to come
On
over?
the sewer hookup, somebody wants to hook up,
Okay,
one sewer.
Perfect, thank you.
A whole bunch of trailers.
We want to be careful there, because they've tried that before. Yeah, and
scan the system.
what it is, we don't, that's the city's call.
Yeah,
That's not our call.
better for them to stay out of it. How's that work on a piece of property that's got a medical lien against it, if we take it?
The lien still stays on, see, and,
For anybody else that buys it, then the lien's still on.
yeah, you don't,
No.
yeah, it does, until it goes through this deal,
Yeah.
and then and this deal is, you give them part of it. We go through all the work to sell it, forces us into selling them, and then parcel of it goes back to the property owner, and then we just get the expense of doing it. In the past, you could set up payments for them, you could do anything for them to help them. People that are struggling, you got some that lose them anyway, but,
Yeah. What about the medical liens? Does that stay on the property for the new owner?
No, they get paid to the extent, so the minimum sale price gets set based on the taxes and assessments. Property gets sold at public auction, and the proceeds go to the taxing districts, and then they go to pay the liens. And then if there's anything over that, then it goes to the property owner. It goes back to the original
What happens
property
if it
owner.
doesn't pay the lien in full?
Still is extinguished.
It's still wiped out.
I know, man.
Hey, actually I have a few things. So, first off, I have 4 casualty losses. Those were fires, homes that burned this year since the first. But we had to wait till we had values set to set a value. So we've got Pete Derlum's, Carl Ferguson, that rental of Phil's, and then David Spooner was down. So what we do is we just prorate. So normally the taxes or the value is whatever's there January 1st. So we prorate and write off whatever was there from the day it burned on. So we prorate that value and do it as a, so they'll see on their assessment notice the full value minus a casualty loss, which is whatever would have been the value for when it was gone, so. Usually we have a couple of them every year, but 4 is a little much.
Oh,
Not what we like to see.
I didn't see any.
Yeah, I'm sure not. Get on that end. And then Bob, just for informational, so then after values are set, if we have a fire and somebody burns, then we ask for a reduction in their tax bill, partial tax cancellation for that. That time that
it
is.
was a big house that burned.
That one of Durham's was, significant.
25 loads to haul that out.
Oh my God. Well, it was a log house too, so I bet it really, never thought about that end of it.
How many thousand gallons of water we put on that night?
Didn't do enough.
Well, it's tough. It's tough, And then this, I think you already got just
Yeah,
an
we're gonna send them
informational
around to the other
Okay.
counties and see if they'd be interested in them.
Okay. And there's good tires on some of those, so even if they don't want, Huh? Those are the 4 that we took out of service. And the one isn't too bad for like in town or for like maybe airport cars
Yeah,
if you want it, but it wasn't holding up on the rural.
We've got 3 up river too, I used to picture them and give them the phone.
Yeah.
Dee
Dee.
Yeah. Not me. And then I just have kind of every spring after we do values, which we haven't completely rolled yet, I try to just do a little report. We did, yeah, I failed. I did get back into compliance with my land, but we did have a lot of land that went up. A lot of it was river frontage, but also just all over the county we had stuff that went up. We had more houses built this last year. We added 44 new residences, which last year we only added 40, but we only had 8 million in new construction as opposed to 11 million last year, but we didn't have a lot of commercial this year, and we didn't have the high-end, the real expensive homes this year. We got a lot of stuff out ready to be built, or in the process of being built. We've already, this year, got 14 new residential, well, these are just houses, new residences, not all the garages and other stuff. New permits this year so far, and we still had 24 outstanding from last year. Splitting properties still. Our preliminary valuation right now is at 900 million. Last year was 860 million, so that's about a 5% overall increase, which isn't bad considering the market. I think we're starting to see some, it's still kind of creeping up, but it's not as dramatic.
Boundary's getting quite a bit of, they're putting in the size of Shoshone now.
We're growing a lot, and I don't know, this next year we're over on the west side. And this can be tough this year, honestly, to keep up. I'll probably be doing more assessments myself this year and taking on some of the area, which I usually try to sit back and just deal with, when there's a problem, when somebody doesn't agree with the appraiser, that's when I usually step in. But I'll probably be doing some of the upfront stuff more, just to keep up. I added in here, we're seeing a lot of houses built without permits, and we're just finding them. And I mean, we're talking not just little cabins in the woods like it used to be, big full houses.
How do you get a,
I don't know.
how do they do that without getting a permit?
I don't know.
But I mean,
I know, it's just getting to be a problem, and they aren't getting septic permits, they aren't getting, and we're just finding them. The one, I just gave a couple examples, these were just from within the last month.
These two houses,
Those are, brand new.
are they on the west side?
One is, and one,
Yeah,
I don't remember that bottom one was. I think it
here. Thanks.
might be off Sanders, but I can't remember. I didn't write it on here, but, that one had a permit for a pole building, and then they turned it into a house. The other one, but I just kind of wanted to let you know that's getting to be a bigger issue. It used to be we'd find a few cabins out there, but.
Line 1 is someone asking for you.
Hello. Yes?
That
Yeah.
one that you found that you were asked about for the front area that was 2 wings,
Yeah.
those ended up being garage. We finally got to see it.
I'm getting prices on it right now, the paid part. No, I'm getting prices on it right now, so, okay? That's terrible, it's terrible, so that's what I'm doing,
I think it was Sanders, but I'm not sure.
okay?
I didn't write it down. The other one's out,
No, you won't, no.
outside the tin set.
I will, and thank you for calling. Yeah, bye.
Do you maybe need to work through that to make everything work for you?
I don't know, I don't like bringing a problem without a solution, but there I am, I'm just saying we've got a problem.
Well, is there,
I don't know the
do we,
solution.
on no permits and no septic, do we have,
I don't know,
do
that's more.
we have fines on that? If we don't, why would you get a permit?
Yeah, there's gotta be some penalty or some way to enforce it, because it's just getting, and what's bad is, it's not just, we want money, but that person builds, then they go to sell, And often the next person can't get financing because the banks are checking for those certificate of occupancies, they're checking for, and we've had them call and say, there's a new roof on this place or an addition on this place, was there a building permit for it? I mean, they're getting very stringent, so it really protects that homeowner's asset and their saleability, you know, at least at this point. But
That is the biggest
it's a
consequence,
tough-
but we can look and see if there's any kind of enforcement
Yeah, we need
mechanism at
to,
the county level. I think it's pretty limited though, but we can look and see what there is. But that's the biggest consequence, is that they do go to sell that property and they can't sell it.
doesn't the contractor usually help you on that? Of course, if you get contractors out
If
of
the
the area.
contractor does not pull a permit, it can be reported to their license and they can be, I don't know if they get in trouble or not. But a lot of them are owner built,
Yeah,
you know, I mean, it's not,
When it goes to financing a house, they have to have everything in order before you
it's tough,
get
yeah.
financed. Because I watched my daughter and her husband go through that, and
It's getting
they're building a
ridiculous.
house on an existing site and had to come through some hoops to be sure that the septic was
Yep.
Yeah.
acceptable, and even had the map didn't follow where the road was, and so they had to have someone inspect, make sure the road actually came to the property.
Yeah, there's a
I was
lot
surprised.
yeah. So it's,
But then to get a permit, but then just,
but if you come in with cash and can build and do all that, it doesn't hit until you go to sell.
yeah.
But people aren't thinking about that. And it's too bad.
I don't know what the penalty is like through Panhandle Health if you don't have a proper
I don't know.
septic system or anything.
I don't know.
that used to be tough, but I don't know where we're at on that.
And, you know, I think they're a lot easier to get permits from than they used to be. They used to be a little tougher. I mean, there's a lot of options out there.
Yeah.
Yeah, they wouldn't build anything but
It's expensive, but it's
lagoon
not.
for a while.
Oh, yeah, that was,
And,
but now that's not the
yeah,
case.
you hardly ever see lagoons built anymore.
So the other thing I wanted to talk to you about, I don't want anything today, but maybe next meeting, I want you to kind of give me some direction on this auto license. So every month, the state is putting out something new, sometimes more than once a month. Now we've got added restrictions on untitled trailers, you know, it's just making it a lot harder for people to license those the first time. Boats were a big deal last month, that no more temporary licenses now. We used to be able to do 30-day temporaries and stuff like that. Nope, not anymore. So there's a whole new bunch of hoops to jump through.
What
If you don't have
did
your
you just
title.
say? No more what?
Temporary licenses. Yeah. My job did the same thing. How do you do that? So what we can do is we can give you a registration that's good for 90 days to give you some time. But, you know, for a temporary, all you needed was that bill of sale or, you know, the type. Yeah, you need a lot more stuff now. So it's just, and they sprung that on this last Tuesday at
If
training.
you bought your vehicle from an auto dealer or
From the dealership's different, because they get that paperwork from the dealership that we can license it right away, if it's an Idaho dealership.
God, they're dumping that
It
license
is.
on us, on
And
the counties as it is, and then put
It's-
more regulations on us.
And Wednesday, we're getting scanners, and we've asked to not have to implement that until later this summer, because right now is our busy time over there. We're doing 200 registrations a day, 30, 40, 50 titles a day. We used to do 24 titles a day. We do double that on a daily basis. Registrations, 100 was a big day.
getting a lot from
No,
out of county too.
we're getting a lot from other counties. So that kind of brings me to a couple of things to throw out to you, is our level of service is slipping. We have lines out the door often. People are not getting, you know, quick service. We have 3 people over there often, which pulls Beverly from my office, which I really need her. But at the same time, you know, we're trying to keep that level of service. And during lunch hours, she's over there those 2 hours, because, so we can always have at least 2 people over there. So one thing we thought about was to ask to see if there was any possibility of getting a part-time person just for the summer months to help, because that's when we're the busiest. The other thing that to think about for this next budget year is, you know, I guess it's more of a, your call. Do we want to accept slower service, or do we want to try to beef up personnel? There's no money. It's not paying for itself now. So
They
that's
never
why
saw-
it's
They
your
never
call.
done anything about that in the legislature, did they?
No, they did not. They did not give us another dime for anything. We do have, because they said we have the ability to increase our administration fees, which ours are still fairly low compared to some of our neighbors, but that's something that's the other part of this, you know, to think about. Do we want to increase that to help pay for, you know, I don't know. I don't have a good answer for it. I just know that we're getting busier and busier, which means more wait time for customers.
That's not good.
What, you know, and that's
People
more.
are busy and they're working and.
My cousin went up to Cooney County, pulled his number, and it says it's gonna be a 2.5 hour wait.
Yeah, and that's what's happening. They go up there, it's 2-3 hours, so they buzz down here and you know, inundate us. And same with
Either license or driver's
Moscow.
license, both.
Yeah, driver's license is getting hit the same way.
Yeah.
I don't know if they're having difficulties keeping up, but yeah. And the training, I mean, we can't miss any training because every time we turn around and they're doing these online trainings first thing in the morning, and so we tried doing one and staying open and it didn't work. So we're just those days opening late and posting it, but they don't even have a decent schedule. We can't say, oh, the first Tuesday of every month or whatever, and it's just, well, we've decided this day we're gonna do it. It's been haphazard. I don't like operating that way, but we cannot miss those.
Well, who do you answer to at the state?
I don't know, everybody in the whole ITD in the auto license division and titling is new, and they're a lot younger, and they have a totally different
Yeah, they can't.
direction.
It's
I mean,
terrible.
and they're trying to push as much as they can to the counties to make their life easy and cut their staff and cut their budget. And I mean, they've said this, you know, that's the whole point of the scanners, because they're having to handle that paperwork down there and they don't like that, so they want it all scanned on our end. Well, the test counties that did it, so when you come in with your title work, absolutely everything has to be there, or we will turn you away if you're missing one thing, because we have to scan that, and everything has to be there. There's no bring the car in this afternoon and we'll get your VIN inspection. That's not gonna fly anymore. You go get your car now. So we have to make, so everything's in order. We go through part of the process, from what I understand. Then we have to stop, because it gives us a number for that scan. Then we have to scan in all the documents, which takes additional time. With that number, then we can finish your process. Oh, and you want plates, since we do that, I mean, and
Let the
it's,
customer stand there waiting then.
yes. So we can't even like do your stuff and then scan it later in the day when maybe there aren't as many customers.
So we need to bring that up Friday to Seth.
I don't know that we can change it, Jack. That's, ITD is just doing what they want to do, and
Yeah,
it's
but
putting
that-
more and more,
Somebody should be.
and like I said, it's just slowing us down to do the same transactions, and
But we
so
need
in
to bring
doing
that up
that,
Friday.
it's, okay, it's making
You need to
it,
go there and be there and bring it up.
is that the district meeting?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I hadn't planned on going, because we still haven't rolled yet, we're
They're,
behind about a week.
he says, the chairman was here, and he said it'd be about an hour,
Okay.
so.
I'll do that then, because yeah, it's just, like I said, we get no warning on anything, they just say, hey, by the way.
Okay, sounds good, yeah.
Okay, So think about that on auto license and
Okay.
let me know what direction you wanna go.
And Donna,
You need copies of all these?
oh, I do, yes.
Okay, yeah.
Can you just make them?
Yep,
Is this thing, is
yep,
that
yeah, I'll do that. It's quicker.
on your, with your part-time help and,
Oh.
you did say seasonally or seasonal?
No,
or
just for the summer,
Okay,
yeah,
so-
but I don't know, Dee Dee.
Okay.
I'm just looking at trying to figure out a way to, you know, last weekend, it was a nice weekend, Friday was swamped. You know, boat races are coming up, we're gonna be swamped. Memorial Day weekend, we're gonna be swamped, you know, cause
Yeah.
you have your normal business plus all the campers and four-wheelers and boats and boat trailers are gonna be dandy now because those are not titled. So we had a guy come in, we weren't able to license his boat trailer. We'll take care of the boat, but, yeah.
So how's he supposed to get his boat to the water?
Well, we had quite a bit of time on the phone with Boise and he had to come back and we did it. I was
'Cause
just gonna say that.
I'm sure I don't have a title for my boat trailer. I've had-
Nobody does, because they're under 2,000 pounds. He had to find, what he had to do is find the paperwork showing how much it weighs, because you have to have a weight slip or something showing the actual weight.
So
So
if I
go
go
put
get
your
my-
boat in the water, go
I
out and
got
get a
bunch
weight
of-
slip
I got some
and
little
bring
trailers,
it back.
and if I go to get a license, I have to have a title, or,
Well, you're not gonna have a title because they don't title them.
Yeah.
That's the problem. There's no title. So now you have to have all this other paperwork to even be able to license it. Before, you just
well,
brought
obviously they
in,
had people that are running the
basic stuff.
transportation department take the bus to work.
probably, and they don't understand boat trailers
Yeah.
weigh 500 pounds. But, yeah, it's not very customer friendly, I'll tell you. And it's very frustrating for my staff because we're used to being customer friendly, you know, and being able to help our customers. And it's really hard to tell somebody, sorry, I can't do this, you're gonna have to come back, when it's something pretty
Simple.
simple.
Yeah.
That was simple.
Was simple,
Yeah.
should be simple, so, all right.
Same Peggy.
Thanks.
Yeah. Just Peg up and
Yes, thank you.
they're doing that.
So it came to $9.01 with penalty and 14 cents on a different parcel. That's the one that we got the check to pay all three. Yeah.
I didn't save her the money.
Sit down, Dean.
I'm in your way, aren't I?
I better sit down too before I get in trouble.
Shoot.
Shoot.
Yeah. Not me.
Oh.
For your reading enjoyment,
Oh, no, that's
Is this on them projects?
that's a copy of the plan and the current 24 projects. Peg and I received requests from Kaisa
Benderite.
I think she's been here.
She has.
DEQ lady to attend a session not last Friday, but Friday before, like 10 days ago. So we collaborated and decided, okay, we'll go sit in on that. And this is what they laid on us, and we caught us just cold. And what they would like is some input from Benewah County, and I think you guys are the most important part of Benewah County. So unfortunately, we're pretty late in the game for these 44 projects. They want input by Wednesday, and actually they want
Benewah County input today.
Because the trustees are meeting on the 15th.
Yeah, so, you know, this is kind of an accidental happenstance. I think we're just late in the game on this particular go-around. Now, I'm sure this is not the end, this is just the beginning. In the future, we'll hopefully get a lot more advance notice, so it'll be time.
And why'd they do that? They had all the time in the world on that.
Yeah, I don't know.
What were they doing?
I don't know.
But there was a window, I had sent the information to Dee from, through the watershed advisory group, that it was now time to apply for, submit applications for this $143 million for the restoration dollars. And you'll see all the, there's a list of them right here, so you can go through that and you kind of quickly look and see who applied for what and how much. But anyway, I noticed that, there were no applications submitted by Benewah County, and I felt bad about that. But this is round one, so perhaps in round two, we can look at some dollars that we qualify.
Well, you had the one, the Indians got the one on Hangman.
It's in there. It's in there.
Yeah, but we objected to that, and I know
Right.
Chip Corsi has heartburn over it too, because it's not connected to the corridor of the body of water. It's outside of.
That's
So
right.
we objected. We objected to a number of these because they
That
didn't
was
deal with
supposed to
mining
be
waste
very
contamination.
low priority also.
Yeah, see, they didn't.
Yeah. Now, do you have a copy of the same thing in one of ours?
Yeah, you guys all got one of these,
Yeah.
and it lists the projects. It's right there.
It's probably in that black loose
This one
in
here.
the inner
The
sleeve.
one you're looking for, Jack and Phil, is this one right here. It's your application, and is it inside of your?
Oh, right here, here it is.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is this it on the,
Uh-huh.
that's
yeah,
it,
That's
right
it.
there.
That's the summary.
Yeah.
And then they are detailed within the loose leaf itself.
But how we got into this deal is apparently you reached out to Dean through Dee Dee. You commissioners talked about, can Dean maybe represent the county or get some information from the county, come back to you on restoration dollars. And then Dean called me and said, I will if you will. So that's how we got into this.
St. Joe Bowl Trail investigation.
Probably, I'll take just a couple minutes here if you'll bear with me, and this is
Sure.
preaching to the choir. But the restoration dollars, there's two pots of money. There's the remediation dollars, which is the ASARCO, and I believe that was over 500 million, 550 some million. That money was used for the Trail of the Coeur d'Alene to remove ballast, to replace ballast, to build them up higher, and then it was used in many of the corridors of the rivers where there was such heavy contamination. So there's still some ASARCO money, but a lot of that has been used. Then recently, they have released this 143 million, or they're identifying it, say this money is now available for restoration projects, dealing with mine waste. So Dean and I met Friday for about 3 hours. We went through all 44 of the applications. And did you get a chance to read the letter that was this perhaps in your packets that we wrote?
It's probably the last couple pages of your.
Didn't sound like you got all the information you needed.
Well, we got information, well, you're right though, Bob, because some of them, they didn't identify what it was gonna be used for. Yeah, you're right. And then we objected, it wasn't like, for instance, the Atlas Mill. They wanted 2.5 million to repair the mill site. Well, Dean and I talked maybe along the river corridor, there was contamination there, but not the mill site. It has nothing to do with it.
Yeah.
So we're trying to get them to play fair, but I don't know if they will. I don't know how the trustees are going to, but we wanted Benewah County to have input. So that's what we tried to do.
In the plan that, they go on at some length about the mine operations for 100 years and how there was a lot of damage, a lot of waste spoils and what have you. And then they talk about, so therefore they talk about mining injured natural resources and mine contamination waste. And so it seemed to us that that really what this project should be about is dealing with injured mining resources, or resources damaged through mining. But when you read the applications, a lot of them have nothing to do with the mining.
Now,
You know, a lot of them do, you know, and fine, you know, but there's a lot of them that don't. And
the applications are in those two books too, so you have access to them. But in our opinion, Dean and I came up with only 13 projects we felt were eligible to receive these dollars. Because they were dealing with mine contamination. The rest of them was replacement of the bull trout, creating environment so the bull trout can thrive. And nothing to do with mine injury.
That's what we should express,
yeah,
because otherwise you're,
it's like the vultures are circling. They see
Yeah.
a pot of money and they want to go down and grab a bunch
Money's
of.
not going to where it should be designated.
Yeah.
Of course, he said it was to improve the quality of life within the corridor. So that kind of opens it up for almost whatever your imagination is, just about.
Now, this is not to say that just about all of these projects, in my opinion, aren't good projects.
Right.
You know, bull trout up the St. Joe River and bank stabilization up the St. Joe River, but it's just not,
Got nothing to do
it's
with
just
it.
not related to the mining. And so those projects should seek other funding. All for getting them done, but this shouldn't be the funding source for it. That's just my opinion.
No, this is going to be a yes or no request to the committee then, and then they decide, take it from there. This is your own personal opinion then.
These are the 13 on the page of our letter
Yeah.
that we felt were credible, that were eligible for, based on what we read in the plan, that these projects were deemed eligible.
I think you should go forward with the 13 projects.
Well, if that's your desire.
That's up to you guys.
I would think you would.
Yeah. Well, with the short time frame,
Yeah.
you kind of don't have time to read through
Yeah.
today. But hopefully in the future, we'll get ahead of the curve on this thing, and you will have opportunity to read through and spend some time.
Yeah.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
We even had some heartburn with Shoshone projects.
Oh, yeah.
You know, we just didn't
Oh, yeah.
feel that they were
Yeah.
worthy of that funding. It was in
Yeah.
misuse.
That's a good point. And one that really caught my attention, well, let's start out by saying, okay, you've got a bunch of contaminated sediment on the floodplain, and you need to do some things to remedy that, okay? But then in this one instance, the landowner, he wanted to go way beyond that and spend a whole bunch of money developing a wetland. And there again, I think that's going beyond what this project and these monies are for. If he wants to make a wetland, that's fine, but he should get other funding.
Yeah,
Kind of like biochar from
Yeah.
farm.
Yeah.
yeah.
All this deal is about is remedying the contamination problems and the disturbance and what have you associated with the mining.
Yeah.
Not going way beyond that, and doing a whole lot of other stuff, very expensive, $2 million.
And one of the things we talked about, the swans that have been found dead up in the Lane area, they're trying to get EPA to release more money out of the ASARCO fund, that 500 and some million, you know, to release them, get them to understand that, hey guys, this was probably drifting out of those ore cars when they went by, or it was sloughing out of the sides and contaminating those corridors. But they're trying to get them to release
You
part
know,
of that.
the problem with that is that if you have high water, you can do all you want to over there.
Yeah,
And if you have high water, you got all the contamination right back on the ground.
yeah.
As soon as you get high water,
Yeah.
which they didn't have this year.
But they did say that the swans are, and I didn't know this, you probably all do, but the swans feed, you know, on the tubers, they go deep. And when they do that, they get into the contamination and thus, you know, many are dying because of that. So, and then they said, well, maybe we can keep the levels higher, but then we thought, well, in a year prone to flooding, then we could be in real problems there. So I don't know what the answer is there, other than they're still trying to get the EPA to recognize that this is part
What is the difference with a white swan and a regular
I
swan?
have no idea.
They're not dying, are they? The regular ones?
I don't know.
Well,
And I
Don't suppose that's a tool?
don't know, but
Trevor swans and,
Yeah.
name the others.
And I don't know if it doesn't sound like the pelicans are affected by this, just the swans. Because they found like 269 dead last year. And then I don't know, they're not finding a number dead this year too, but the total number is not in yet, so.
269, that's quite a few.
Yeah. But anyway, we did talk to Kaisa on Friday. The deadline was to be prior to today.
Yeah.
We said, the commissioners have a meeting on Monday. Can we take this to them for their review, let them weigh in on this, and can, by end of day, have them communicate to you? And she said absolutely, because she's gonna prepare the list, and then the trustees meet on Wednesday. And you'll see who the trustees are in the front of your plan. There's actually 4 trustees and 2 sub.
federal government, it'd be Department of Agriculture and Department of Interior. The state government, that's Fish and Game and DEQ, and then the tribe.
So you did recommend the biochar.
We did, yeah, we looked at that. That's a Jack Zimmer project.
Which
Yeah.
one was that?
It's project number 16.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that looked really interesting, that char business to try to somehow chemically ameliorate the contamination, I guess.
Oh, is that what it was for?
Yeah. Sort of an experimentation thing, but wow, that seemed like it had potential. It was a worthwhile.
Yeah, I looked at it, I thought it said farm by farm power, I thought maybe someone was trying to scam, making charcoal or something through the programs.
No, but if you want to review the project, the
Okay.
application is in that book, Bill. But it's just, as long as you understand the sensitivity of something needs to be submitted today by the.
I don't know what could we submit this quick?
Just, I would say that what Peg and Dean have done would be a good start for us.
Yeah, that's what I do, just
Yeah.
the ones that you guys think are worthwhile, send it in.
Yeah.
Have Dee send it in,
Give it a time frame.
yeah?
Yeah.
I absolutely had no time to sit there and read.
Yeah.
No, we didn't either, but I taught Dean in 3 hours, so we did. I wouldn't let him leave, so we reviewed all of these, which was good, because he brought a really good perspective, and between the 2 of us, we bantered it out, didn't we?
Yeah, I think so. Do the best you can with the time available.
Yeah.
Like I say, in the future, hopefully there'll be a lot more time.
Yeah.
You guys can do your independent study.
The thing, on another subject, the thing that is, Shoshone come in here today, and their people said, well, maybe they ought to go on their own.
On the collaborative.
And they weren't on their own to start with. How many meetings were they commissioners at?
Well, John Hanson would come.
Yeah, but, I mean, towards the end there, but
We hardly ever saw Mike Fitzgerald.
they haven't been involved at all, so we suggested that we get back together on that, so I'll get with you guys and but we've been dealing with that Rangers 4 times more than they have,
Yeah,
so.
that's too bad.
Dean and I were just discussing this, if I may. Dean, as we all said earlier, there's a real power, to connect, with more than one county. But it begs the question, if Shoshone is not interested, if Matt feels it would be worthy or worth our time to form a collaborative for Benewah County. All your same players would come
You
here.
come here acting like they were interested.
Huh, I'll be there.
Was?
So,
good.
but that was
That's good.
I'm having a problem with it, because we worked on that for 2 years, all of us.
Yeah.
And he acted as though, they didn't,
Well, maybe there's interest again, maybe he had time.
I think that Rangers put the pressure on.
Good.
Peg had a big conversation after the meeting up there in Coeur d'Alene with Mike Fitzgerald, and maybe you planted a few seeds in it.
Well, I just asked him, I said, what are you thinking on the collaborative? And he said, well, we were just talking about that, but
He said some of my people attending the meeting feel some of the questions are a little bit too specific as far as technicalities, and they're a little uncomfortable.
Where'd that come from?
I don't know. So
I haven't seen that.
all I said was, well, you know, we just wondered, because we noticed there hasn't been any further.
No, you're right.
Okay.
Well, Matt has indicated at our meetings that it's really helpful.
Yes.
Darn right.
From the ranger district standpoint to have
We
this
need to
go
get
out.
together.
Because they don't lack for people against their program,
No.
against timber harvest and water and all that. It'd be nice to have a few folks in favor of it.
Yeah, you're right.
Which is what we were doing.
Yeah.
Trying to
Just
promote the
ask
local
Matt,
economy.
I think it's better to have one collaborative in 2 counties, or a collaborative for each county.
No, they need to be together, Bill.
That's better.
That's better, because they got the timber and we
We
have.
have more clouds.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, we don't have it, they do. So, okay,
I think that's all.
Yeah.
Okay.
thank you.
Anything we can do further?
Yes, we'll be getting with you. Okay, thank
All
you
right.
very much.
You're gonna submit that then. You know where to submit it to?
Or are you guys gonna submit it? We'll let you submit it.
Sure.
Yeah, and you know, and I don't know why you can't.
Is it
use your own
Kaisha?
discretion. Yeah, it's gonna go to her, and then maybe, Dean, you wanna come here for a second to take off part of this? I don't know how you wanna phrase it.
We need to get together with her.
Just submit it under county cover head, asking them to review your analysis. Submit it.
Maureen?
Yeah, or anyway.
Go tell the building inspector
Okay.
that we're ready.
Building inspector?
Well, she's.
I can get her. Oh, I didn't mean, so I can do that.
But
Okay,
then,
sure.
you know, this, with the county letterhead.
Right.
Yeah,
So in a nutshell, they're, this, okay, so is that, do they want all this other stuff, or just?
I think
They do,
I
okay.
think they should see that,
Okay.
because when the trustees meet, you know, this is right
Okay.
around the corner.
I just didn't know if they wanted, just in a nutshell, this is what we're recommending, but, okay, yeah, I can do that.
All right, very good.
And just to that, Kaisha, whatever.
She's
does.
putting together
Okay.
the list, as long as it goes by the end of the day. Okay, thank you. Thank you, commissioners.
Yep.
Thanks, Dee Dee.
Oh, thank you.
She's on the phone, but we do have other executive session stuff we need to cover as well.
Hi, nice to see you both.
What's that?
We have other executives.
Oh, let's go in there, second.